Hi, it's Dwyer. GamblersAdvisory.com, dwyervip.com. Today is October the 13th, 2017. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Well, you have a title fight at 154 pounds. Featuring two unbeaten fighters, the champion Jermell Charlo and the challenger Erickson Lubin, right? I'm going with the underdog. I'm expecting the title at 154 to change hands. I like Erickson Lubin in this fight. The way I'm playing it is Lubin to win, hedged with Charlo by KO. What I'm saying here is that I expect Charlo to be outboxed to the point where his only chance of winning the fight, in my opinion, is by stoppage. Now, Charlo understands what he's up against, right? I know these guys have been making all kind of statements in public, and I know Charlo has said he expects to defend his title. What else is he going to say? Just understand he's been training with welterweight champion Errol Spence, which should tell you something about the level of challenge posed by his young opponent Erickson Lubin, who hasn't even had 20 pro fights. Just understand Lubin's going to come inside, just like Errol Spence does. But let me just tell you something. I think Lubin is better defensively than Errol Spence, right? Understand, it's my belief that at the highest level of the sport, it becomes about angles. Now, I don't care what the fighter's age is. Some of the best fighters I've seen, Salvador Sanchez, for example, were younger guys. I'm just telling you that Erickson Lubin is a master, absolute master, at standing where he can't get hit while he's working your body, right? The guy's so good at it, he doesn't even have to keep his hands up around his head. He's able to read when you can throw punches. He knows when to come inside. And deep in the pocket, when it comes to going to the body, I'm just telling you that this challenger, he doesn't even have a title yet. I'm just telling you that this challenger is one of the best at going to the body in the sport, right? Let me also say, too, that a CompuBox sheet doesn't really tell you all you need to know. Like Gennady Golovkin, who's also a master at spacing, Erickson Lubin is a master at spacing. He just innately knows where his opponent is, where he needs to be. He's not going to be standing in front of a guy, right? He's not going to allow a lot of shootouts to happen. No, this is a guy who's patient, but yet who seems to be able to get on your belt, right? Seems to be able to hit you in the body to such an extent that by the 5th round, his fights are usually over. Now let's talk about Charlo, because there's a piece of film I'm going to invite everyone here to look at. Now, first, let me just say, Charlo's immensely talented. He's the champion for a reason. But I was very disappointed with Charlo's performance against John Jackson, who's one of boxing's more interesting people. You might recall that John Jackson was absolutely spanking former middleweight champion Andy Lee. Then he got KO'd, right? Well, let me just say, I believe in blueprints. You're going to notice John Jackson, if you look at the Jackson-Charlo fight, completely owned Charlo, round after round, completely outboxed Charlo, round after round, before he got KO'd. Right? Now, I know knockouts cause amnesia, but when you see a guy get outboxed round after round. And I invite you to look at the film, look at the judges' scorecards. Understand that Jackson was the underdog in that fight. In other words, all of these has-been judges, getting free hotel rooms, then showing up ringside and just mindlessly scoring round after round for the favorite in a fight. Even they understood that Charlo was getting undressed. I'm just telling you, if Charlo didn't get the stoppage in that fight, he would have lost the fight. Now, interestingly enough, Jackson lets Charlo take the lead. In other words, boxing has a counter-punching component to it. Sometimes guys will outbox you by saying, hey, here's the steering wheel. Go ahead and drive the car. I'm just going to counterbox. I'm just going to counterpunch you. Right? In my opinion, Charlo couldn't handle the lead. He wasn't comfortable with it. Now, a skilled fighter with access to a tape like this of his opponent that showcases his opponent's weaknesses should be able to take advantage. And I'm just telling you, Erickson Lubin is a thinking man's fighter. Right? Let me also say, too, this fight is also significant for another reason. Right? Outside of Lubin's spacing, his ability to come in and work the body, his superior defense to Errol Spence's defense, and the fact that Charlo, in my opinion, can be outboxed. And that is the change that this fight represents to the power structure of boxing. Now, Jay-Z's involved in boxing, right? He owns Rock Nation. James Prince is involved in boxing. You know that even with Andre Ward's retirement, he is the manager for Brian Jennings, for example, and several other fighters. Shakur Stevenson, for example. Right? Well, understand, those guys are not the only two guys involved in music in the sport of boxing, right? Outside of Al Heyman, who, of course, is heavily involved in music. Lil Wayne, Weezy, is actually the head of Young Money APAA Sports and Entertainment Agency. Right? You need to be aware of things like this, because he recently signed Erickson Lubin, who, in my opinion, is this close to taking the title from Jermell Charlo. Right? If Lubin wins this fight, just understand, you're going to have a new group with a belt in boxing. I know we've become accustomed to hearing about Golden Boy, Top Rank, Mayweather Promotions, right? Eddie Hearn. You need to keep an eye on Young Money, right? Because I'm telling you, Lubin is one of those rare fighters who has an opportunity to win other titles. Let me just say this, though. Understand that 154 is an underrated division in general, because I believe Jarrett Hurd, right, is going to beat Austin Trout. I think Hurd already is one of boxing's better fighters. The only thing Hurd and Lubin lack, in my opinion, at this stage, is name recognition. Right? The talent is there. So, I'll agree. With regard to this fight, Charlo has certainly fought the better competition. But like Saul Alvarez, like Canelo, some of his wins, in my opinion, have been less than convincing. I'm sure today, Vanis Martirosyan thinks he beat Charlo in the fight they had, a fight that could have gone either way. I'm not expecting this fight to be close, folks. Even though Charlo knocked out John Jackson, well, put it this way, got a stoppage. Jackson's still on his feet when that fight gets stopped. Right? I would question his punching power. right? I think his only chance here is a lucky punch. I'm expecting him to get outboxed by the challenger. I like Erickson Lubin in this one. The play for me will be Lubin, the underdog, to win the fight, hedged with Charlo by KO. That's how I see it. I know the pick is controversial. Let me hear from you. If you feel the champion is going to successfully defend his title, I invite you to leave that analysis in the comment section of this video for all of us to read. Thanks for stopping by.